So before we actually get into today's video, I want to talk to you guys about jerseyfifa.com, because as you can see they have hooked me up with a load of fresh shirts for this year's World Cup. I've got the England home kit, the England away kit, and also a nice little retro shirt. And you can do exactly the same if you head to jerseyfifa.com using the link in the description down below. They also do the same for club football as well. The latest home shirts, away shirts, but also some really nice retro kits. If you are interested, head to the link in the description down below and use code jerseyfifa for a discount when you order. Now into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we are getting straight into it and talking about France's 2-0 win over Morocco in the World Cup semi-final, setting up a very tasty final tie against Argentina, which of course I will be covering on the channel, so make sure you subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you don't miss that video. But before we talk about that, of course we need to talk about how France have managed to get there, and how they managed to beat this Morocco side, and how some brilliant in-game management from Didier Deschamps, but also some top performances from France's key men, allowed France to win this match. So coming into the game, we assumed that Morocco's approach to the match was going to be quite defensive, be quite cautious, and sit back, let France have the ball and try and break them down, but that didn't happen. However, Morocco did seemingly line up with a little bit of a defensive lineup, with a 5-4-1 formation as opposed to the 4-3-3 that they've used in some of their games at the tournament so far. So they started off with this 5-4-1, and early on in the game, France had a decent spell of possession for like the first 20 minutes. They were quite involved in the play, and they looked to build possession in a 3-2-4-1 shape. Personally, my favourite build-up shape. I think it's the best build-up shape there is at the moment in modern game. And the way that they done this was by tucking Koundé in from right back into a slightly narrower and more reserved position. He wasn't necessarily tucked in right alongside the centre-backs, but he certainly wasn't bombing forward and overlapping. So this allowed them to create a back three, which meant Theo Hernandez pushed further forward, allowing Mbappe to come inside. This side, Dembele was holding the width, Griezmann kind of moved into this right half space here, and then we had Fofana and Tchouaméni playing as a double pivot. So we can see this gives France this 3 here, 2 here, the 4 and then the 1. And that very quickly becomes a 3-2-5 when you want it to, if you push your men all the way forward. Now, the interesting thing about the way that Morocco defend is, yes, at times they are quite defensive in their setup, but they don't just sit deep. So it's not just a case of, let's line up on the edge of our own penalty area. They do try and hold a decent line. However, this actually caused them problems early on, because they were essentially man for man in every area. We can see Hernandez on Hakimi, Dembele on Mazraoui, Griezmann on Yamik. We can see the sort of matchups that were being given, and as I've been saying throughout the tournament, when you go man for man in these areas, you are putting much more emphasis on individual quality. And we saw some good individual quality for the opening goal for France. Varane plays an excellent ball through to Griezmann. Yamik gets it wrong defensively. He tries to nick in, win the ball, and just doesn't get there. Griezmann spins in, gets towards this area, and we know what happened from there. The ball eventually fell for Hernandez on the other side, who put France 1-0 up. And like I said, this build-up shape from France is just very, very good. They've got a bit of everything. They're also helped by the fact that Dembele is someone who likes to come towards the ball a little bit. Often what I'll talk about with wingers is the need to get them high and wide and stretching the pitch. France actually do it slightly differently. Dembele often comes towards the ball, and this just draws the fullback. There were several occasions, even for this first goal, where Mazraoui is kind of getting drawn by Dembele baiting, dropping deeper, and this then leaves this room to run into, which Griezmann has done brilliantly all tournament long. And Varane stepped forward, played a pass, which I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting him to play. I've spoke already at the tournament about how he isn't the greatest on the ball. This pass was really good. Like I said, that slip from Yamik and then just quality play from Griezmann. And just on Griezmann, there is a lot of talk about Messi or Mbappe, who's going to win the Golden Ball, who's going to be the player of the tournament. Griezmann really should be in that conversation as well. For me, he's been better than both of those players. I think Messi had a game where he was quiet and Mbappe has had a game where he was quiet. For me, Griezmann has been top quality in every single game that he's played, and massively affected every game that he's played, especially attacking, but also, as we'll go on to see in this game, from a defensive point of view as well. Regardless of that, he isn't their only threat, and that's the problem when you play France. They're just threats all over the pitch. Theo Hernandez, as usual, was looking to get forward, and then Mbappe was looking to get into these positions where he can use his quick feet, his quick brain, to try and beat his man, isolate his man, and get into dangerous areas. Although, again, he wasn't as dangerous as what he typically has been. However, the fact that France went 1-0 up very early certainly suited them. Also, what happened around this point in the game was that Saiss went off injured, so Morocco brought on an extra midfielder and went to more of a 4-3-3, which we'll sort out now. This change to the 4-3-3 meant that Morocco had a really good 45-50 minute spell. From about the 20th, 25th minute to around the 70th, they were genuinely the better team.
really in control of the ball, and they ended up with over 60% possession. Now, one of the reasons for that was because France are happy to drop deep into their 4-4-2 and kind of let the opposition have the ball, but also because Morocco were doing some really good stuff. It starts with the fact that we know Mbappe and Giroud don't want to press, and unlike England a little bit, Morocco really took advantage of that and focused on progressing the ball through the centre. What we saw with England was a lot of wide combinations. Morocco took greater advantage of this lack of intensity from the French forwards, and it allowed them into some really good positions. So the reason that this worked is because Ziyech on the right hand side looked to come really narrow, Boufal done the same on the left, and then Mazraoui and Hakimi started to look to push forward quite early. And I think this was because they had gone behind early in the game, Morocco, so we're looking to get back into the game as quickly as possible, which meant that they were happy to push men further forward. Now, when this happens, like we said, Mbappe and Giroud don't defend, so it leaves France kind of lacking in numbers in this area a bit, especially because Ziyech coming inside kind of ties up Tchouaméni. Boufal coming in from this side kind of ties up Griezmann. It means that with Amala playing slightly higher, you can get Amrabat, Unahi and Amala kind of creating an overload. So even if the French forwards did drop onto the two here, they could kind of overload this middle area. They had the extra man with the wingers coming inside plus then the three central midfielders. It allowed Morocco to really take control of this game. Impressively, not just in wide areas, but in the centre as well. The most difficult part of the football pitch to control. Not really any team has done this against France at the tournament so far. Morocco done it brilliantly. However, despite the fact that they had a lot of control in the middle of the pitch, there was always one area that they wanted to attack, and it was down this French left-hand side, Morocco's right. Again, the reason for that is because Mbappe doesn't want to track back, and also because Fofana playing in his left position here can get caught a little bit high, which means genuinely there are situations where you can get 3 versus 1 up against Theo Hernandez at fullback. Now, Theo Hernandez, absolutely brilliant fullback, one of my favourite left-backs in the world, probably top 2 in the position in the world at the moment. Defensively this tournament, I don't think he is being great, however, he certainly isn't held. When you get 3v1, you've got absolutely no chance. And some of the combinations down this side from Hakimi, Ziyech and Unahi were absolutely brilliant. And Unahi in particular, he might have had himself a tournament here where he gets a big move, either in January or the summer. It's always dangerous to kind of sign players off the back of a big international tournament where they've done really well, but he's got to be worth a shot for someone because he looks really, really good. And in general, the combination play down this side was absolutely brilliant. We also saw Hakimi moving inside, Ziyech out wide at times, and this triangle was lethal. Now, France did react and dropped Fofana deeper, and at times he almost found himself in a left-back position trying to deal with this problem. But Morocco just kept coming. They just kept coming at this France team, and they were brilliant in the way that they'd done it. However, the problem for Morocco was that if they did lose the ball, the counter-attacking threat of Ousmane Dembele on the right wing here, but also Kylian Mbappe, it's just absolutely lethal. It is absolutely terrifying, and France got into the positions where they probably could have had a couple more goals. We saw Mbappe make an incredible pacey run down this side. Somehow Amrabat went all the way with him. I will genuinely never know how Amrabat stuck with him. He did foul him at the end. The ref didn't see it. Hey-ho. But yeah, that threat was always there. I've always felt that Morocco were the better team on the ball. Morocco had most of the possession. They were getting into these good areas down the right-hand side, making chances. But that France threat on the counter-attack was always there. And it felt like every time France got the ball, they were going to race forward and score. As for Morocco, on the other hand, it felt like when they got into these areas, they just lacked that final pass. Yes, the combination play was brilliant down this side, and even down the left-hand side once Allah came on at left-back, the more naturally left-footed player playing down this side. They had a threat down this side of the pitch as well, with Boufal combining and Amala as well, but there's just that final ball. Unfortunately, the Moroccan striker just couldn't really get into the game. I don't recall him having a chance, and that was the problem for Morocco. France just had way more threat, directness, more quality on the counter-attack. Morocco built the ball well, dominated the ball, dominated the centre of the pitch, also the wide areas, got into great positions, had great combinations. They just lacked that final bit of quality. Lloris also played well in goal, and also in Varane and Konate at centre-back. That's a very, very, very good centre-back partnership, which complements each other really nicely, and I don't know why it hasn't been this partnership the whole tournament. In my opinion, Konate is better than Upamecano, and they were absolutely brilliant in this game. Their box defence is brilliant. Any time that Morocco tried to come through the middle in these advanced areas, Tchouaméni is there sealing it off, but also, again, Antoine Griezmann. Now, Griezmann is a player that all tournament I've been looking at and going, He's very good, but maybe defensively, does he want to go back towards his own goal? Does he want to do the defensive work? To be honest, he's kind of shut me up. He clearly is more than happy to do the defensive work, and he's going above and beyond doing the defensive work. He is doing more for this team than he even needs to. So again, people will talk about Mbappe and Messi for player of the tournament. Griezmann has been absolutely incredible. France would not be where they are now without Griezmann. And again, the defensive work he done off the ball in this game was just absolute quality. However, France did still have to react because they were really struggling down this side of the pitch. Deschamps did react. He brought Giroud off, put Mbappe up front into a more central area where he did combine for the goal, so good management there. But also, more importantly, brought Thuram onto his left-hand side, who was going to do more defensive work. And suddenly now Morocco weren't having this overload, and it did really nullify their threat. Once his substitute happened, Thuram coming onto the left-hand side, it just took the momentum away from Morocco. Before that, they had really been building up a head of steam down this right side of the pitch with the extra man or two. This took that away from them, and for that, Deschamps deserves a lot of credit. He is a manager that I've criticised in the past few years, but his in-game management at this tournament has been very, very good. He's made his subs at the right time, got his team sitting off at the right time, and is it the most entertaining football to watch? Not at all, but in tournament football, it's all about getting the wins, and he's got his France team winning, and he got his France team to win again. Partially thanks to some individual quality from some very good players, some brilliant hard work from Griezmann, again of course Mbappe, always the threat, really enjoyed his battle up against Hakimi, but the manager really does deserve a lot of credit, because for me he got it absolutely spot on. He was helped by the fact that his side took the early lead, that did really play into their hand, but from there they eventually managed the game really well, and that last 20 minutes it felt like France were quite comfortable. Despite not having the ball, they always felt in control without having possession, which is a good skill to have. So now they set themselves up a final against Argentina, a game I really can't wait for. Of course, I will be covering it unless it's an absolutely awful 0-0 draw, which goes to pens, something like that. But apart from that, I should be covering it. So again, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. That's all for today though. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.